Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. Unfortunately, in this edition, we will be talking about a Tottenham Hotspur defeat. Spurs 1, Ipswich Town 2. Yes, Dr. Tottenham is at it again. As per usual, I've got three very special guests with me to talk about today's game going into the international break. We're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook and also X. Please do get involved and let us know how you are feeling as a Tottenham Hotspur fan right now. Now, as I mentioned, Tottenham 1, Ipswich 2. Szmodics put Ipswich 1-0 up after 31 minutes. Delap doubled the visitors' lead after 43 minutes. And Bentancur got one back in the 69th minute. Tottenham Hotspur are currently 10th in the Premier League table, 16 points from 11 games. We have a goal difference of plus 10. Now, the match facts and stats, Spurs had 66% of the ball today to Ipswich's 34%. Shots, Spurs had 17, Ipswich had 8. Shots on target, Spurs had 5 to Ipswich's 3. Shots off target, Spurs 9, Ipswich 2. Block shots, Spurs 3, Ipswich 3. Total touches in the box, Tottenham 39, Ipswich 23. Goalkeeper saves, Tottenham 1, Ipswich 5. Aerial duels 1, Tottenham 16, Ipswich 11. Fouls, Tottenham 10, Ipswich 19. And corners, Spurs had 12 to Ipswich's 2. Now, as I mentioned, three very special guests with me. Actor Ricky Norwood is back with us. Ricky, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm okay. Disappointing game. Disappointing result today. Yeah, frustrating. Frustrating. One of Craig's favourite words. Frustrating again. But yes, we'll jump into it. It's always great to be on with you, gentlemen. And I'm sure we're going to break it down. And yeah, hopefully a bit of therapy for everybody out there feeling it right now. And, hopefully we get a couple of giggles along the show as well.
Back with us also is channel regular and the guy that hosted it very well on Thursday, Craig Dearman. Craig, how are you?
Oh, honestly, I'm so fed up. Absolutely fed up. Just looking in the comments, everybody feels the same. Absolutely frustrated. Just had enough. Had enough. How can you perform against Villa and how can you perform against City and then lose? With the greatest respect to Ipswich, you lose to Ipswich. That was worse than Palace for me. Absolutely no excuses for that. Nobody comes away from that game with any shred of you played well. It was bloody appalling. And it's the third international break I've gone into, coming on here talking about a defeat going into an international break. Absolutely fed up with it. And players just walking around the pitch looking like they don't care. Too many players in this squad are not good enough. If you're not good enough, piss off. I'm really, really, really fed up. God knows how you feel, Chris, paying to watch this every single week, week in, week out, because I'm just fed up with it.
It's very fair to say, Craig, and we will come on to it. At half-time, there were boos. At full-time, there were a lot of boos. It was very, very noisy, which actually, it probably bring me on nicely to talk about this before we introduce Richard. This incident took place right after the game. The players were being booed off. Something that was clearly said by a fan to Ange Postecoglou. He stopped in the tunnel. He clearly didn't like what he heard, what someone said to him. We'll talk about that in a second, but back with us, and I'm glad he's back with us because he is the only guy that brings trophies to this club and to this podcast, is Richard Whitehead, MBE. Richard, you've been breaking world record after world record. You've been doing marathon after marathon all around the world. How are you? And tell us about your adventure.
Yeah, good, thank you. I think what that fan was saying to Ange was there's no burgers left at the burger bar. That's what he was saying. That's why I stopped and so on. Mate, I've been good. Yeah, so obviously I've been killing it, but then it's like so frustrating watching the Spurs, man. Like today, like Craig and Ricky have alluded to, it literally drains the bucket of all the energy that you have because you watch a game and you see the good, you see the bad, and then you see today's bullshit. It's not the ugly, it's bullshit. Like today's performance on every level highlighted what's bad with this squad, and not only the players and their mentality, but some of the philosophy around how we're playing. It's like Ipswich weren't good today, and I can understand the fans' real frustration when you're watching some of the players like just walk around the pitch, not really, like Craig was saying, not really care about the shirt. Clearly, they do not understand that they should be. I want players going in for those tackles, like getting the crowd up. So what if they get a yellow card, but actually believing they can win the game? Benzema scored, and that is a call for action. Even the disallowed goal today, call for action. And then where's the entourage? Where's like everybody coming forwards and committing? I want to see if we're 2-1 down. People need to get. We need to have like bodies in that box. We need to have good service. Today was real letdown. Look, yes, I've been successful this year, but people like me need to get in that club and actually stir it up a little bit, because at the moment there's something going on. It's not consistent. We've not got any resilience, and the players don't understand. Yes, you can have one good result and celebrate that, but it needs to be consistent game after game. We can't be losing against Crystal Palace and Ipswich.
Rich, we'll come on to talk about the football in a second, but let's talk about you personally for a couple of minutes, because you've had a very, very successful year, breaking world record after world record. You must be absolutely delighted, and you are literally everywhere, because the match day programme today features you, 3 pages, talking very positively about Tottenham.
You have to save me one of them, Chris, for sure. But it's hard after a game like today. I think, obviously, I work really hard for what I do. Like, to break the world record in Chicago, that's 18 months worth of work. So last year, before I went to New York, I was thinking about, obviously, getting to Chicago and doing what I did, cheers, Mark, and really kind of working hard on the 1%ers. In performance sport, in any kind of successful performance team, you need to have people under you that also believe that it's possible, whether that's nutritionists, whether that's sports science, whether that's your strength conditioning coaches, doctors, etc. But you all need to be pushing in the right direction. I put those in place, and over the last 18 months, I've been building to this performance. And that's what they need to do every week. They need to build into the performances. I think that what's happening is they just look fatigued today. They looked, I don't know, out of ideas, because mental fatigue and physical fatigue are very similar. And that's what I saw today. I saw no ideas. I think we need to have more players in January. And I think also the manager really needs to inject something into the squad. Maybe something from outside the team. Inject something into the squad that really does empower them to be better. I'm free, by the way, on Monday.
Ricky, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on this game, because, many people joked about it. Dr. Tottenham, Spursy, these terms I absolutely hate. And I even started my fan cam video today saying, surely it's not going to happen today. Spurs are not going to be Spursy. Spurs are not going to be Dr. Tottenham. This is going to be a comfortable win. This is going to be, us going into the international break, a chance to go third. Even on some of our WhatsApp groups, some of us joked saying, well, Spurs go third this weekend. But on the other note, we could go, 10th, 11th, 12th. But it's happened. We're sitting in 10th place in the Premier League. It's another very disappointing afternoon. And as Richard said, that defeat against Crystal Palace, handing them their first win of the season. We've done exactly the same again against Ipswich at home.
Yeah, do you know what? I think the biggest disappointment is the opportunity that we've missed today to climb that table, to kind of just put us in and amongst it. It's a very tight, congested table. Nottingham Forest are doing well, Brighton are doing well up there. They're not just the usual suspects. So it's a very tight table. So, those 3 points today would have... I'm not really worried about the position that it would have put us in, but like the amount of points that we would have accumulated would have kept us with the pack. And that for me is the biggest disappointment. Today, I'm going to let the gents, Rich and Craig and yourself, do what you do and say what you see. But I'll do what I do and I'll say what I see, as I do every single week, in the sense just to give balance, just to give balance. So I think nearly every Spurs fan, firstly, when we spoke at the beginning of the season, said that they would prefer a trophy than to be in a top four. If that's going to be the case, we're going to have days like this, right? I'm not condoning it. I am fuming about today, all right? I'm just trying to find balance myself. So we're going to get days like today. In the first half, we had a lot of the ball. We had a lot of control. We was playing against the side, Ipswich, gunning for their first win, and that like to play counter-attack. Today, kind of sat deep and then defended deep and then chose to break on us. And then they were using their own kind of time-wasting tactics and rolling around on the floor and the keeper and stuff like that. But mostly we was in control. Then they get their goal, and then they had a bit more of the game at the end of that first half. There were boos at the end of that first half. But what I did hear as well was the roar from the fans of "Come on, you Spurs," and the encouragement. So not only did the stadium let them know that they were disappointed and that wasn't good enough, that wasn't a good enough first half, but they roared them on in the second half. And for me, I did see a jump up in intensity. When we're like 2-0 down now, there was a jump up in intensity. And we were hustling and trying. And, someone like Bentancur was snarling at them today. It did mean something to him. You did see the disappointment on some of their faces when some of the shots were missed and stuff like that. We did have good opportunities, both halves. Dom Solanke's shot in the first half, the Brennan Johnson clip, that he just missed by the post. And there were opportunities, there were opportunities. And I think playing the way that we do play would have got us back in the game, if not go on to win it. But today wasn't our day. I think Richard hit on it fantastically, saying that there was a mental fatigue. Yes, some of these players didn't play during the week, but there was a mental fatigue there as well. You saw that in the first half. It took them a minute to kind of get up to speed, even though we had possession. Some of the passing was still sloppy. It wasn't as sharp. It wasn't as crisp. There was an intensity. There was a change. Ange did try a plan B in putting two up front in Sonny and Solanke and tried to go for it. When Werner came on, he was electric. He tried to be very direct and electric the way that he left the last game, which was good to see. I thought something might happen through him. And there was a frustration there. There was an anger. I didn't see them kind of... Look, they didn't perform today at all, and I can't condone the performance. But I didn't see them drop their heads or sulk or not want to try. All of them were frustrated. All of them wanted to get up there. All of them wanted to get the next goal. But then Ipswich played their game, and credit to them, because they haven't won a game and have just been promoted. So those type of dark art tactics I can understand, and well done to them. But then they started diving, holding the ball, waiting for silly free kicks and just breaking up that last period as soon as we scored. So, what I can take from it is that there was a fight there was a response, but it wasn't big enough today. And like Rich said, it was almost like the batteries drained out of them a bit. So a really tough, disappointing day. I can believe it, but I can't believe that we missed out on that opportunity against someone that hasn't won a game, and missed out on an opportunity to kind of put us back in that mix before an international break. My gosh, another 2 weeks of international break, knowing that Tottenham have lost and we've got to wait for them to come back, and goodness gracious me. But yeah, so those are my thoughts, bro. There's a lot of disappointment there, of course, and I'm going to let the judge jump in on that. But those were a few things that I could take from it that would be classed in quotation marks as positives. But it's tough.
And Postecoglou on the game, he's just said, we didn't start the game well at all. It was all sort of passive, without the ball, with the ball. I felt that we didn't get the tempo right or intensity right. And then we gave ourselves a mountain to climb. Second half, we were in the ascendancy and had opportunities, but obviously we didn't do them enough. Craig, your thoughts on the game, because It's very, very frustrating, isn't it? It seems to be up and down, and we seem to be very inconsistent, because when you look at last week, beating Villa in the manner that we did, and Villa, very good side, hadn't lost a game in the Premier League for 2 months, went to Galatasaray, made all those changes. We'll talk about the team selection in a second, but of course, another 7 changes today. Every Spurs fan expected us to win the game comfortably today. Are you surprised by this performance against a team that hadn't won a game in the Premier League all season?
It's kind of I'm not surprised because excuse me, I'm not surprised because I'm a Tottenham fan and I know what they're capable of or not capable of. But I did expect us to win this game comfortably today, especially after midweek. Absolutely prioritising Sunday. We could all see it. He bought off Son and Johnson at half time. So he was prioritising that game today. And no matter what team we put out today, we should have been beating Ipswich. Bottom line, we should have been beating Ipswich, a team that haven't had a win all season. So, same with Palace. We should have beaten Palace. But we definitely... This was at home today against Ipswich, for Christ's sake. It's just not acceptable. It really isn't. Again, I didn't really see many leaders on the pitch today. Bentancur, I thought, played okay. But everybody else needs to take a long, hard look at themselves. And absolutely everybody in that team today just was not good enough. Absolutely ridiculous performance against a team that, yeah, they're doing the dark arts and diving around and wasting time. You're going to get that. You're going to absolutely get that. That's football. But we should have beaten them with our football. We should have done. And it just wasn't good enough all over the park. Frustration is really, really pissed me off, this performance. It really has. More so than the Palace, more so than Galatasaray, more so than Newcastle. These are the games you need to be winning. And I know Ricky said about the position in the league. I do. I think we could have gone third or worst fourth now. Now the results, everything fell into place. The stars aligned. We could have finished before the international break in that top 4. And all we had to do was beat Ipswich. We either took it too lightly. I don't know. I mean, I see people in the chat blaming the owners. I don't agree with that. You can't say it's the owner's fault when we beat City and we beat Villa, and yet put it on the owners when we can't beat Ipswich. I'm sorry, it just doesn't ring true to me. That wasn't on the owners today that we can't beat Ipswich at home. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's a ridiculous thing to say. This is on the players and the manager today.
Players, yeah.
And the players take a huge responsibility today, because we should be turning Ipswich over and turning them over comfortably. And again, we've fallen over. And it's got to improve, because if the results don't, we've got some tough games after the international break. We've got Manchester City, for crying out loud. Look, they're not going to be looking forward to playing us because of what we've done to them in the past. But that, as a first game back, I'd much rather be going into that 3rd or 4th in the league than where we are in 10th. Very, very disappointed, Chris.
There's a comment here from Gary, and it says, "It's who we are, mate." That was proper Spursy. It was Gary who actually said on last week's show, "We are 100 million% winning this game." Gary was extremely confident that we were going to be winning this game. Rich, when I spoke to, I know we'll go through the match stats, match instance in a second, but when I spoke to a number of Spurs fans at half time, they all believed that Spurs were going to come back into this game, into the second half, and win it 3-2. You know, most people said that to me at half time. Don't worry, Chris, we're going to come back and win it. What is it about Tottenham needing to go a goal down or 2 goals down for us to then spark into life?
I think there's that mentality problem, isn't it, around getting that intensity right, and just so many times I've said, "Oh, we didn't get the intensity right at the start of the game." I 100% put it down on the players. I think the manager, whatever team he'd put out there today, we should have been beating Ipswich, and I felt so like how we were moving. Ipswich had obviously done their homework around where the danger positions are and how they're going to nullify some of the balls that obviously cross from left to right. And Spurs didn't have that kind of dynamic approach on the pitch where if those passes aren't on, then what do we do? How do we kind of still get in behind them? Too many crosses went in straight to the keeper. We wasted so many opportunities. You look at like 552 passes we had today to 278, and we didn't use the ball enough. We had, how many shots do we have? 17 shots, 5 on target. Come on, like that Werner shot towards the end of the game for me summed up the game for me. Absolute. You guys know what I think of Werner anyway. I think that's
actually summed up his Spurs career as well.
Yeah, and I think also that performance, it was unconfident. Like, he should have got his head down and hit through that ball. It's not about trying to put it in the top corner. It's about trying to get it on target at that point. And the performance for me was lackluster, no energy, no conviction. Spursy, yes, we had a great second half against Villa. We were competitive in the first half. And obviously with the midweek game in Europe, I felt maybe if Kulusevski put that ball in, the open goal at the end and make it 3-3, maybe they'd have a little bit of confidence going into this game. But I thought terrible today. Like, I watched every second. I was going, right, we're going to really kind of push this intensity. We're going to show Ipswich what kind of team we are this year. And we just didn't. Too many balls still in the defensive or middle third, not enough intent in the attacking third that was breaking down their kind of low block, whatever you want to call it. And then obviously when they got ahead, they were literally wasting time. Like, I'd love to know how much time in the second half the ball was in play, but there was so much time where the keeper was messing around with the ball or the players were going down with cramp. There must have been, we had 8 minutes at the end, extra time. I reckon at least 10 or 15 minutes, at least. And it
10, 12,
really
easy.
But the thing is, though, Rich, if you were an Ipswich fan right now, you'd be praising that behaviour.
Yeah, of course, Of course. But that's what I mean. The players need to react to that. They need to not let the opposition have those opportunities to waste time. But also know that if you're going to go down injured, you're probably going to be clattered by one of our players. So make sure they go down injured. This is the thing. You need to put it on the. I think sometimes, like Ramiro, for instance, like I don't when he goes in hard sometimes, that intent, like he did against Villa, that intent, it shows the players that they're in for a hard time, and it shows the players there's no pissing about. Today, I didn't see that from one player at all, and that showed for me a mentality, a soft mentality that really didn't force that we're actually a serious team this season. Like 10th is where we should be, because that's how we played this season, which is disappointing. Because what's the point of having games like against Man City in the Cup, Aston Villa in the league, when then the next game at home, when the expectation for the fans is, right, this is going to catapult our season. We're going to go into the international break with confidence, with momentum. Now all the players are flat, all the crowd's flat, and then we know we've got these difficult games ahead, and we feel like our season needs something. We need jump starting by somebody, and one of the players needs to do that. One of the players needs to light a spark on the team, and we just haven't got that at the moment.
Some more comments here from Ange Postecoglou on the inconsistency at Tottenham right now. He said, that's down to me. That's my responsibility. The inconsistency we're having this year, ultimately, it comes down to me and my approach. And it's something I need to try and fix and see if I can help the players in that area. Ricky, let's get your reaction to Ange Postecoglou's comments there about the inconsistency, because as I said earlier on the stream, there were a lot of boos today, particularly at the full-time whistle.
Yeah, and that's allowed. That's allowed, Chris. You know, we are fans. We cheer when we score, and when we put in bad performances, they're allowed to boo. They're allowed to voice their opinion. And, you know, those crowds were booing for us at home as well, in a sense, to kind of, because everybody watching on a screen today was highly frustrated and, you know, and probably wanted to boo those boys today as well. You can let them know. Ange is a very honest manager. He said before, you're gonna get praise and you're gonna get criticism, and sometimes it gets deep and it gets dark, but it's how you respond to it. It's how you kind of use it to fuel the next motion. On his comments today, I think he's doing again, very honest, but I think he's doing the manager thing in taking it on his shoulders. For me, it wasn't to do with the tactics today. For me, it was to do with that intensity. And at least he's honest about it. And he's recognized it the same as all of us, rather than come out like some managers before and kind of try and sugarcoat it or try and tell you something else, or, at least he's honest with it. And like everything, like all of the problems, and it's not like that list of problems has gone anywhere, but like the problems that we've had before, they have gone to task. All right. Set pieces, for example, scoring them and defending them. We've seen an improvement in that. We need to see another improvement in our kind of attacking sense, but we've seen an improvement in that. We've only conceded 2 goals this season from a set play. So they are. What I'm saying that is an example of that. They do see what we see, and they do go to work on that training ground to try and rectify it. Some are harder to rectify than others, but that intensity and that will and that how to start a game, I think that, like Rich said there, man, I think he'll put it to the players, but it's going to take a player to kind of shake it up in there and inject some electricity in there and kind of go, what are we doing? Because you can't talk about top 4 or winning trophies and not be able to access that pit of the stomach electricity and fire that goes, we are not winning this game. We're going to go and trample this team, and we're going to go and get our 3 points. At our house, nobody's taking anything from us at our house without a fight. To be fair, like I say, I did see some fight in that second half, and I did see a jump in intensity, but it was almost, too late at that point. And it wasn't enough. It wasn't. Did I see it? Yes. So I'll give them credit for coming out and being 2-0 down and not dropping their heads and kind of going, look, let's go and get it straight from the off. From the second half, straight from the off, they were going for it. But it was almost too little too late at that stage. And it wasn't high enough, They started snapping at certain things. So it's
Ricky, are you surprised though with the amount of time now Ange Postecoglou has been at the football club, and we know how we can play, we know how we can perform, we know how we can create chances, win football matches? Are you surprised that we have had these types of performances in the last couple of weeks, the likes of Crystal Palace away and now Ipswich at home?
Yeah, of course I am, mate. But you've got to look at some of these other managers, like Klopp and Arteta, that have had like 4 or 5 years to build their project. We know that when Ange came in, there was 101 problems on day 1 that he came in. There was 101, and so little bit by little bit, he's ticking off those lists. And I think we can see that there's a long way to go. We can see that there's. And he said it as well. He said it after, I think, the Villa win, that there's more gears in this team. There's more level in this team. There's even in a win, he has said there is more to come. So we are going to get hit like this sometimes. It is not. This is worse than the Palace one because it came after the Palace one. So you feel the pain of that Palace defeat, and then we let it happen again today, But I still believe in Ange. I still trust him. And I still believe that with the examples that I've seen of the little improvements, that he will get there and he will make it happen.
Chris, I also think that it's like against the teams that are towards the bottom of the table that don't come on to us.
Yeah.
We really do struggle against them. And then on top of that, the fundamentals, we don't learn from the mistakes, like cutting out the early ball into the box, like clearing the box. Like we are bad. Like Vicario needs to be more dominant in the box. Like that. The first goal, yes, Brendan Johnson should have cleared that, yes, but the ball before that should have been stopped. And we need to do those fundamentals well. And that, for me, your wide men need to be stronger. And yes, the other game, Pedro Porro, he should have done that today. He needs to be more stronger. Udogie's brilliant going forward, but you can't be brilliant going forwards if you're weak as piss at the back. Come on, guys. Fundamentals against these teams are so important. I think we're better against the better teams because it's like it's up and back. We're controlling the ball. The space is available. These kind of games, they're all behind the ball. They're all making it super hard. And then on those kind of breaks where they know we're shit in the air or we're inconsistent in the box, they're always going to nick a goal. We are so poor at the fundamentals at the moment, and that's what's holding us back. That's why we always go behind 1-0, and the first 15 minutes, it's whether we actually got that intensity right is the reason the games go either winning or we're going to have a really tough, hard day. So frustrating.
Craig, let's come to you. Tottenham have failed to win their last 3 Premier League fixtures that came off the back of a midweek Europa League fixture. You highlighted this earlier on in the stream. Now let's talk about the starting 11 today, because Ange, of course, made 7 changes from the team that lost against Galatasaray in Istanbul on Thursday. Vicario, Porro, Romero, Dragushin, Udogie, Sarr, Bentancur, Kulusevski, Johnson, Solanke and Heung-min Son as captain. Subs today: Forster, Spence, Davis, Gray, Basuma, Bergvall, Maddison, Timo Werner and Lancashire. What have you made of the amount of changes that Ange Postecoglou has made, particularly this last week? Because when you rest or when you make so many changes in the Europa League, Galatasaray away, we all knew how difficult that game was going to be. And of course, we lost 3-2. Some could argue that it could have been, so many more, but then we could have snatched a draw at the end. That's a whole nother podcast. But when you make so many changes in the Europa League, you're obviously concentrating on league competition. We've seen it before under various different managers recently, including Pochettino, when we were playing the Europa League under him and the Champions League. He'd always rest players for the league competition, always be thinking ahead of the league competition. What have you made of the level of changes that Andrew's made this past week? Because when you're playing a team, I'm going to say it again, who had not won a game in the Premier League all season, drawn 5, lost 5. This should have been a comfortable win. This starting 11 that Ange put out today, some of you have already said, and some, guys in the comments already have said that we look tired. He rested a number of players on Thursday evening.
Yeah, if you're going to rest players, then for a specific game like today, then you should be putting in a performance and justify making those changes during the week. But look, a lot of teams, especially in the Europa and Europa Conference, make loads of changes. They do. That's not unusual. It really isn't. But the amount of change he made in the week was clearly with an eye on Ipswich. And like I say, that's fine if you go on and win convincingly, or just win. You haven't got to win convincingly. Just get the 3 points on the board against Ipswich.
Craig, can I also say, there's a comment here from Goose, and it says here, I can't believe what I'm hearing on here from some of you guys. This manager isn't good enough. Now, there are a lot of digs today at Ange Postecoglou, and we're very used to this, certainly this season. As soon as we do lose a game, Ange Postecoglou does get a lot of flack. Is the flack justified, in your opinion, today for Ange?
Yeah, I mean, he has to take responsibility because he's the manager. But for me, the players' performance today was just not acceptable. Ange can only do so much. I'm not completely defending Ange here, because he is the manager, and ultimately he will carry the can. And if results carry on the same, he will no doubt get the boot. But people can say the manager's not good enough. We've been here before with Conte. We've been here before with Mourinho. We've been here even with Poch. It's not always the manager. And we've seen you change the manager. I'm still not at the point where I think we should change the manager. I'm not. I know some people are, but I just don't see what that would achieve. I really don't, because you're starting back at square one again. And just like to say, Isaac in the comments been giving me a bit of grief, because obviously I'm not saying leave you out and the balled out. is what I said today was you can't blame the board for that performance today. You can't blame Levy for that performance today. So listen to what I say.
However, though, Craig, I think a lot of us, including you, have said that we need to do more for today in the transfer window in the summer. We
absolutely, but that the result today was nothing to do with what we did or didn't do in the summer. That was just a piss poor performance today. We should be beating Ipswich, whether we made any additions in the summer, whether or not. Do you know what I mean? We should be beating Ipswich. With the greatest respect to Ipswich, we should be beating them. We can have a whole other discussion about whether the board does enough and Levy does enough, and I'll probably agree with you on a lot of that. But that wasn't on them today. That was on the players and the manager today.
Rich, Ange Postecoglou, you still fully behind him? Because as I mentioned, during this podcast and during the podcast when we have lost games this season, or even last season for that matter, he does get a lot of flack when we lose matches. Are you still fully behind him?
Yeah, for sure. I think he does get a lot of flack because obviously it's a win or bust kind of way he plays, isn't it? It's and in the past, I think he's been very naive with the way he's set up his teams. I 100% agree with Craig around today's game, though. I think even the players at the starting 11 from Wednesday would have beaten or should have beaten Ipswich. I think it's really important to understand that we've got that quality in the squad to beat the likes of Ipswich, and they're just not delivering. Like, if you look at the stats from the players today about pass completion, about delivery, about opportunities created, it's not good enough against Ipswich. And going back again to the fundamentals that we should be doing when we're on the ball, if our recruitment's right, and a lot of fans have said that we've brought in some good players, then why aren't they performing against teams like this? This is about kind of an opportunity for these players to step up and showcase the reason why the club has put big investment in wages, transfer fees for these players, and they should be delivering. They can't be turning up after a trip to Turkey and they're not delivering. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I wish the comment from Goose. I'm not sure. I'm not sure you've given him the opportunity. How can he be great against Man City and Aston Villa? Then also you're saying let's get rid of him. That's not how it works. That's not how professional sport works. And again, we love Spurs, but we also need to understand this is professional sport. We're dealing with players. It's about how you motivate young men to be the best they can be when they cross that white line. And yes, has got that wand. He's waving that wand and moving the players around. But you believe that those players are able to deliver that performance of those 3 points at the end of 90 minutes. And that's what it comes to. I believe, I'm not a massive fan of Werner, but he should come into the team and then be able to break down those lines, create those opportunities for the likes of Solanke. Today, he looked tired. The chances he got, he snatched. And that, for me, is a real difference. It's about understanding these are professional athletes that are paid to win matches. And today, they didn't seem to be on the same pitch as Ipswich. Ipswich wanted it. They wanted it more than us. They weren't better. They wanted it. Even the goals they scored, they were very poor, very poor.
Rich, when you say about the players are tired, is that not just a poor excuse? Because, some guys that come on this podcast have been saying that from the very start of the Premier League season. We're only 11 games in. And I feel like I've heard that on this podcast so often, not only by, the guests that come on, but by the viewers and listeners, using that excuse about the players being tired. Really?
I think it's a mentality as well, Chris. I don't think, players might not be tired, but they look tired, how their body language is. And again, that's not, it might not be that they are fatigued and they're not able to perform at the highest level, but I think their mannerisms, their whole outlook towards the game, they look like that they're suffering from fatigue. Some of the players look like they were looking forward to the international break. And that's the real problem. They need to be getting up for these games. You can't be in the tunnel. It's so important. You watch the players in the tunnel. Are they focused? have they got the energy to kind of go out there and give everything for the shirt? Today, even I was like, I looked at the players and looked at quite a few of them and said, I went for quite a few goals today, and we had the goals, but it was obviously in the wrong net. And for me, it was all about starting from that first minute, showing the other team, going in tough, making sure the other team understand this is our stadium. Remember what John McGinn said about the stadium? This is a loud stadium. Other teams are going to come here and be turned over. What happened today? They didn't turn up.
It was very quiet from the Spurs fans in the opening 45 minutes. But Ricky, let's come to you on that point that Richard's making, because I think all of us discussed that a couple of podcasts ago about, when you're in that tunnel, up for the fight. And when I think back to the 90s of someone like Roy Keane, go to war, up for the fight. Do you think a lot of these players are up for the fight? Because this is a Premier League game. It's of high importance. And when Ange Postecoglou says about the Arsenal game, like a North London derby, is no bigger than a game like this, you want to see that fight in every single match.
Yeah, I mean, I think those players are up for the fight. I just don't think they were up for the fight today. I mean, I know that sounds, but I've seen them.
But you've got to be all the time. You can't just pick and choose. It's got to be all the time.
And that's what we have all been calling for, some kind of consistency with our performances. This is the biggest frustration, is that we do this roller coaster thing. We're fantastic one week, and then the next week it doesn't click. When it comes down to tiredness and fatigue, of course, there is that, but other teams do deal with it. But it's affecting us this season. We know, because of our own experience, how tough it is to play on a Thursday and then a Sunday. Always a bit of a factor. We was on 2:00 in the afternoon. I don't know whether that was a factor today. I remember us used to have a problem with the 12:30 kickoffs. So, and I'm not looking for excuses, but those things are out there. For me, look, in that second half, there were a lot of those players that went to go out there and win this game. I didn't see them concede defeat. I didn't see them stop fighting. It's the only positive that I could take from it, is that they all continue to do it. But at that time, Ipswich can just low block it, or quick technical fouls. Every time that we broke, how many times did one of our players get pulled back or pulled down to the ground? Pap Sarr going off as well. Pap Sarr is been our engine box, has almost been the cover for Van der Ven and his pace on that left-hand side. So him coming off today. We're a different side with Van der Ven in the side as well. There is that factor as well going on. There are loads of different factors. But ultimately, fundamentally, I agree with exactly what Richard is saying there, in the sense of that kind of mental fatigue. It was another game, and the fact that they should start from minute one snarling. I don't understand. It's another problem on the list. I don't understand why we've got to go a goal down, or we've got to get a man sent off, or there has to be some massive thing that happens for there to be a reaction. Rich is absolutely right. We should come back from the kickoff and go at their necks. Do you know what I mean? Go at their necks, score the 3 and 4 in the first half, But also, on the other side, this style of football is 100 miles an hour, Ange Ball. So it's really tough to do 100 miles an hour over 90 minutes. But we do know that these are one of the fittest bunch of players we've got. We've seen their comeback. It was a stat last week about how many times that we've conceded a goal first, but then come back to win the game. So we've got to just look at these things. I'm not denying that today was not good enough, or that we should accept that as a fan base. Absolutely not. That's why I'm with the fans that booed. Let them know. Put it on them. Put that pressure on them. Let them know that today wasn't good enough. But I can't let a performance like today judge all of the good things that I have seen, especially when we've been lost at sea for so long. We were Titanic FC for so long. We were only 2-3 games away from hitting an iceberg for so long. We were directionless And we didn't have a compass to know what direction to go in, bro. We didn't have a philosophy. We didn't have players that wanted to be there. We didn't have players that wanted to run. I remember being on here and going, I just want them to run. I want them to just give it everything that they've got and leave it all out there. I was asking for the bare minimum in the past, and I've seen far more encouraging performances. I've seen much more of a direction, and whether the philosophy that Andrew's brought in is like gonna concede goals, okay, fine. Or are we gonna take a couple of losses? Okay, fine. Because all of the good things that I see in the way that we play football, in the way that we do attack when everything clicks, it is sexy. It is bloody beautiful when we click into gear. And I haven't had a bigger smile on my face, which is crazy. But I haven't had a bigger smile on my face as under Ange since Pochettino for me, So that's why we've got 100. This is why I'm just trying to put into context. I'm telling myself, not you guys. I'm telling myself to calm myself down as well. That there are 101 problems on that list, and we are chipping away at them. But there are still 55, 56, 57 problems left, and things like this are going to happen. So this is what happens when you've got a young squad. This is going to happen when you've got a lot of games. And this is what happens when you transition from the mentality that we had to the mentality that Rich is talking about, that relentlessness, that no way on God's green are you going to take 3 points from our house, let alone from a game that we need to win. It's always that way with Tottenham. We know it. That's why the phrase is Dr. Tottenham. I hate it. I can't stand it. It's happened far too often. But under this management, under this coaching system, under this way, under this philosophy, the way that I believe that we've got to ride these bumps and go through it and get back up for this next one, because we got to go again. The season ain't over right now. It's not all doom and gloom right now. There is a long way to go. There is a lot of teams that have had bumps in their roads as well, and they've got a lot of problems. Gooners have got problems. The Man City have got problems, all right? The only one that's really doing good things right now is Liverpool. So everyone's got problems. But we got to learn these lessons right now, and we have to rectify it as soon as possible. It's just a shame that we go into a 2-week break now where Ange ain't got the boys to kind of rattle them, really.
Again.
Again.
Craig, let's come to you. Ange Postecoglou, talking to Spurs TV, has just said it's unacceptable. It is my responsibility, and I have got to fix it. What Ricky was talking about there, and what a lot of the comments, we're literally having thousands of comments flying in, giving thoughts on how they are feeling right now as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. There's a lot of negativity, as you can imagine, and as you can see. The dark arts, we've spoken about this before, a number of teams playing the dark arts and us not being physical enough or aggressive enough. Did you feel like that again today?
Yeah, I did totally. And what annoyed me is the amount of stupid fouls we gave away, especially towards the end when we needed to keep the momentum going. Bissouma did it. Kulusevski always does it. That's one of the things that annoys me about him. He's been brilliant this season. He's got a habit of doing that. I think Udogie did it. It just breaks our momentum. And Ipswich played it perfectly today, you have to say, because that is part of the game, whether you like it or not. We've done it in the past. We did it. We've done it against big teams. We've done it against City in the past. I remember but that was under perhaps managers like Conte and Mourinho that are more used to playing that type of football. We've changed now, but we do need to bring that back, in my opinion, but certainly learn not to give away stupid fouls. It's so difficult for me to be positive about anything. Some people that like to be a bit more positive, probably more so than me. It's that old saying, isn't it? Good things happen when men plant trees, the shade of which they'll never sit under. And that is exactly what Ange is trying to do here, and build something, but he's got to be given the tools to do that. And I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. Somebody had a go at me for saying this wasn't the board's fault today. I'll stick by that. That is not the board or Levy's fault today. We lost to Ipswich, let me tell you. But the ultimate responsibility for giving Ange the tools he needs to do this project and do the job, does fall to Daniel Levy and the board, because if he's not getting those tools, then we're going to fail again. And we've all been here millions and millions of times. We can see it coming. We know exactly what's going to happen. So he has to be backed and get the players in he wants to bring in. And that is the main thing. In my opinion, we miss Højbjerg. I never thought I'd say that, but Højbjerg in this midfield, somebody like Højbjerg, we miss that sort of play. You've seen it with Manchester City, how much they miss Rodri. They've lost 4 on the spin now. That's unheard of for City, but it coincides with Rodri not being in the team, and they haven't looked good. Liverpool, in fact, are the only team that have looked brilliant this season. And that's why it was such a big opportunity today to climb that table, to get into 3rd or 4th and put down a marker. And this was one of the, on paper at least, one of the easiest games. And we've fallen over again, and we've fallen over at that hurdle. So for me, however we get across the line, however we need to change something. We do. We need to counteract those dark arts, do it ourselves. I'd love to see somebody. I want to see Romero flying into a tackle and getting a yellow card for it. You know what I mean? And we're just not seeing it. There's something not quite right still. I still believe, even after that, I still believe that we're not a million miles away, but there's still work to be done. But when we're bad, my Christ, are we bad? Because that was shockingly awful today. And as I say, worse than Palace for me.
Craig, let's stay with you. Let's go through the match instance. After 2 minutes, Vicario was forced into a save from Szmodics after an Ipswich attack. Following that corner, they were unlucky not to score again. A bit of a mix-up with Radu Dragushin. What have you made of Dragushin in a Spurs shirt? And as Richard said, when you start the game, you expect every single player to be up for it, particularly when, and I'm going to say it again, a team that haven't won in the Premier League for 10 games, coming to Tottenham. And as Ricky said, this is meant to be our home. This is meant to be a fortress for us where we play super attacking football. After 2 minutes, they had 2 really good opportunities. What do you make of us defensively today, and in particular with Radu Dragushin? Because, we talk about, on this podcast very often, when a player gets an opportunity, it is about grabbing it. What did you make of his performance on Thursday and today?
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard for me to criticise a young player. I don't like to do it, especially when they haven't played particularly well. But you've asked me the question. I've not been convinced about Dragushin since he came to the club. I've always been willing to support him, as I've most of our players. But I just don't think I'm not convinced about him. The jury's still out for me. I didn't think he had a particularly good game today. I don't think he played well in the week. He obviously got sent off earlier in the season for one of our first home games in the Europa League. He started okay. He had a few shaky games at the start, but then he kind of grew into it. And I personally think he's had enough game time now for us to evaluate his performance and give an opinion on him. He's just not doing it for me. And I think hopefully his agent pipes down a bit. Apparently his agent came out and said that he's happy to stay at Spurs now. Yeah. I'm not surprised about that. Can you honestly say that would you have rather had Dragushin or Ben Davies at left centre back today? I mean, I'd have to ask myself that question, because I think Ben Davies is a very solid player. I think Ben Davies would have probably done better than Dragushin today. And that's, when you say that out loud, Ben Davies is coming to the end. Excuse me, my nose is running. He's just not, he's not quite there yet, Dragushin. A lot of work to do with him.
Craig, there's a comment here from Stephen Flood. It says that Ange Postecoglou has been financially supported by Daniel Levy. That is true, isn't it? He's had a lot of money to spend. He's brought in a lot of players. He's changed the squad heavily. We all expect and all hope that is going to continue in the future transfer windows. But Ange has been backed. He has.
He has 100%. Excuse me, I've got a nosebleed. Sorry. Could Richard take that? I'll be back.
Rich, let's come to you on that then, because it is fair to say that Ange has been backed.
For sure, and the players that he wants as well. Obviously, he wanted Brandon Johnson and Solanke and these players to kind of put in straight into the first team. and his reputation needs to obviously go on with that as well. And I think when you look at the first 11, there's probably a couple of places where we need to be looking, maybe number 6, and but I think there's still a lot, still a lot of improvement when players are coming off the bench. But also, I still think the players that we've got, the squad that we've got, yes, we still need to build off it, and Ange still needs to have some of those players that he wants in those positions. But when you look at the squad holistically, these players should be winning games like this. It all goes down to mentality. I don't know what's happened from obviously coming back from international duty to today, but the intensity's kind of zapped out of them. Even watching the game midweek, I just saw so many mistakes, and like they could have had like 8, 9, or 10. You know what I mean? It's like they were all over us, and taking that mentality from the midweek into the Premier League, you're going to get punished, and that's what we did today. We got punished by.
But the thing is, Rich, with the level of changes, you're going to rest all of those players on Thursday. You have to have 11 players on the pitch on Sunday that are going to give a fantastic performance, because there's no point resting players if they're not going to perform on Sunday.
And also, you want the players to be flat out when they finish. And I've said this before about kind of players like putting the work in, and some of the players I saw today, some of the players came off the bench, and even Maddison, when he came on, I was expecting more, and I just think he came on pissed off. He came on pissed off because he wasn't starting, instead of going, I'm coming on and I'm going to kind of deliver for the manager. And I think he held that kind of, whether that was just subconsciously held it, going, actually, I should have started today, and I feel like I'm good enough to start, and the manager doesn't believe in me. I'm going to come on for 10 minutes, and I'm just going to potter around, instead of, he could have grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. And a lot of people were saying that this game could have somebody like Maddison come on and then transform the actual outcome. And that's what he should have done. But I don't think players like him took enough responsibility. And I do go back to say this squad has enough quality to beat 90% of the teams in the Premier League. I believe that. But they need to be moulded in a way where they're more resilient. I still feel we need to have somebody at the heart of the team that really does leadership. We've talked about that a lot. We need to have somebody that really does lead with everything they do. They might not be the best player, but they need to lead with every team has got that leader, and they might not be the best player, but they sure give everything. And I'm not seeing that. Sonny, when Sonny gives everything, he's nearly crying at the end of the game because he's given everything is on his knees. But even that, I think that's drained out of him a little bit over the last couple of games.
Chris, can I just jump on just one thing quickly? Leaving everything out there, Rich, it was only Villa that those boys were collapsed to the ground, right? They finished at the end of the game. Solanke was on his back, right? And it was the same against Man City as well. Left it, every single person left. So it is in there. It is in there. It's not like that doesn't exist.
That's mentality, though, isn't it?
Yeah. And today, look, it wasn't there to the level that you're absolutely right in that, but it's not like it doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It is in there, man, and they are fighting, and they do leave everything out there.
What's the point of doing it against Man City and Aston Villa if then you go Crystal Palace and then Ipswich and then you get this bag of shit? You know what I mean? It's like, it's not, and that's not great going forward. You need to have momentum. You need to put a run of results together, and we haven't. These games, we should have the intensity for 60 minutes, and the last 30 minutes should just be a parade. We should have just been get all the younger players on, bedding in the younger players, letting them have the experience. I can tell how the game's going from in the tunnel. I honestly can tell that, and I can tell that because all this knob jockeying they're doing, where they're cuddling each of the mates and all that, none of that. This why they're doing that bullshit. Don't do that. I've never done that. You should never do that bullshit at all.
I completely agree.
You should, like you're saying about going to war, you need to be going on that pitch, going, I don't care who I'm playing against, if they're my best mate or not, I'm going to kick them and make them aware that literally I'm first to this ball. Every ball they need to be first to, and every ball they need to want. And then if they're not there, the first ball, the second ball is definitely theirs. And that's what I'm not seeing at the moment. I'm not seeing everybody working as a team to want that first ball.
You know what? It's such a great example, bro. But because Gary Neville. So Gary Neville didn't shake hands with Phil Neville when he went to Everton.
Yeah.
He didn't even look at him. And then he done the same with Schmeichel when he was at Man City.
Yeah.
Schmeichel came over, and I think they was on the wrong side of the tunnel or something. Schmeichel came over to say hello to Gaz, and he was just like, "Get off." And he stood there with the armband on.
Yeah, I hate all that bullshit.
He had massive leaders in front of him. He had like Roy Keanes and Robsons, and like he had massive leaders in front of him. But you're absolutely right about in that tunnel, man. Like, forget all of this high five.
Bullshit, man.
I'll see you next week on internationals. It should be let's go to war.
Do you know the worst part about it? Take away Craig's nosebleed. I feel like we've recorded this podcast before.
Yeah.
Ricky, let's come to you. After 8 minutes, it was a good spell for Ipswich that opening 8, 9, 10 minutes because cross from left-hand side, player waiting, you doggy cleared. A minute later, from that resulting corner, Ipswich were first to the ball again. It was cleared off the line. It gave their fans real belief that they could get something out of this game, and it certainly quietened the Spurs home crowd. How are you feeling at that point? Because I do agree with Richard. In the opening stages, when the players are coming out of the tunnel and when the players come out on the pitch, and then that opening few minutes of a game, I can kind of tell as a Spurs fan how that game is going to go. And I tell you what, I wasn't feeling that confident in that opening 10 minutes or so because they seemed to be up for the fight from the very, very off. And it is worth noting that their press today against Spurs was absolutely excellent for a team, and I'm going to say it again, that hadn't won in the Premier League all season.
No, I mean, I think that both of you are absolutely right, and you kind of nailed it, really. For me, I was feeling it. I was like, oh, please no, please let it not be one of these again today. And then I had to kind of put it to the side and go, no, come on, we're gonna do this. Come on, let's go. And I just tried to believe in that it was gonna switch. And as soon as we started getting some momentum, I thought, okay, cool. And Dom Solanke was doing a couple of nice link up touches and kind of when you do the 1-2s and he peels off and stuff like that. So there was stuff happening, but it wasn't getting there. So I was like, okay, cool, come on, please, come on, let's make it happen. And yeah, look, Ipswich done well, man. Ipswich done well, but we allowed them to do well. We didn't play our game. Our passes were very sloppy in the first half, especially. They didn't reach their target, much like a bit of a hangover after Galatasaray, because Galatasaray, we couldn't string 2 passes together. We couldn't get no link-up play happening whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? Until we had the sending off and then 70 minutes on. But today we started like that. I felt that we wasn't passing at pace. We wasn't passing accurately. It was getting broken up way too easy. And then we gave Ipswich the opportunities to counter on us and the opportunities to kind of hit us on the break and stuff like that. So after those 10 minutes, though, bro, I still have belief that we was going to come back and make it happen. Even after 2-0, I was like, all right, cool, we're going to make it. We're going to do this. We're going to come back,
Even down to the opportunities that they gave us as well. We needed to be better with the ball. It's like, look at their passing percentage. They only had 66% passage percentage.
Yeah, I would love to know which ones
for a team. And I'm like going, why are we not utilising the ball better? And for me, it was like today there was just so many little things that. But the big difference was there was one big difference. One team was a team, and the other wasn't. That was the difference for me. One of them was playing for the manager and the team, and that they had an objective, and that was to nullify the balls that were coming in, and then obviously just take their opportunities. They had very few opportunities. Like they had three on target shots, 2 of them went in. There you go.
Craig's back with us. Craig, how are you? You all right?
Yeah, it must have been the shock of Spurs losing. I've had this cold for over a week, and it's just typical. If it's going to start bleeding, it starts bleeding on. I haven't had a nosebleed for years, so it must be hyped up talking about Tottenham. Yeah, I think I'm all right now. Thank you.
They got your blood pressure high, mate.
Yeah, I know. Does that to you?
The things these defeats do to us, honestly. I was saying, I feel like we've recorded this podcast already, all but going off with a nosebleed. After 9 minutes, Brennan Johnson shot from range over the bar. A minute later, Dominic Solanke had a shot deflected over the bar. A minute later, Heung-min Son weaving inside the box, weaving in and out of the Ipswich defence. Clever run, shot at the goalkeeper. Craig, how are you feeling at that point? Because, as I mentioned already, the opening 10 minutes, Ipswich did have a good spell in the game. How are you feeling at that point?
They basically did have a foothold in the game, and this was weird. It was one of those games where I actually never felt like Spurs were going to come back into it after Ipswich had scored, well, both goals actually, but I just had a funny feeling that it's the way we started. We've spoken about it on here before. It's the way we start games. You can just see and get a feel that I didn't think we were going to do anything today. I think you've said that, Chris, before, haven't you? Within 5 minutes how a game's going to go, and I had that today. I just knew Ipswich how they were going to set up. They were defending with 5 at the back, and then when they were coming forward, they changed the formation slightly. So look, they did a number on us today, but I still maintain, we should be beating the likes of Ipswich. We should be. There's no two ways about it, and that's not belittling Ipswich at all. That's a massive. Don't make no bones about it, but that is a massive victory for them today. Their fans going to go away very happy, back up the A12 without a doubt. It's just typical Tottenham, isn't it? It is. And you're right. I feel like we've been here before. You could just play one of the old podcasts and change name here. Insert name here, insert Ipswich here, because we've been here so many times.
Craig, after 19 minutes, Dominic Solanke, a good, powerful shot into the bottom right-hand corner, but a good save around the post from the goalkeeper. But it is fair to say in the opening 20 minutes that Ipswich's press was very, very impressive against Tottenham. But what did you make of Dominic Solanke's performance today?
He was okay. He's probably one of the few players that comes out of it with any sort of minor pat on the back. I thought his work rate was brilliant again today. But again, he didn't have tons of service to him. I think that's the key thing for me when you're a centre forward. It's all about the service into you. And he didn't have tons of chances. He's not going to bury every chance. Even Harry Kane didn't bury every chance. There was one in the second half. I know, he went close with as well. He didn't do that badly, but he just didn't look as sharp as I would have expected him to be today. He was shutting down, but he just looked a yard off it, as with most of them did. I thought Son did, Johnson, and we had a couple of chances in that first half. Johnson had a chance, didn't he? I don't know if we've covered that already, but are we clinical enough? That's the thing. Are we clinical enough? Probably not. It's all very well creating 20, 30 chances a game, but yeah.
If you look at all of the chances that we have created this season, we have not been clinical enough in that final third. I think that is very, very fair to say. Yeah,
agreed. And somebody's just put there, Craig, how do I feel about Sonny? I think Sonny's been a little bit off it. I think there's been a couple of games this season where Sonny's been back to his best, just exactly the same as we all know and love him, but again, his age catching up with Sonny a little bit. 32 now. He can't do the things he used to do all the time. Perhaps we're only going to see it in fits and starts now, and there's going to be certain games when it's not right for him. Obviously, still incredibly fit, still got a pace, but I think there's some games he's a little bit more off it, which of course we're not used to because he's been world class for years, hasn't he? Obviously missing his mate Harry Kane, it will never be the same, I think, since Kane left. But yeah, getting older. We need a replacement for Sonny, a long-term replacement for Sonny. I mean, I hope he's here for another 2 or 3 years. I really do, because he's gonna be the guiding hand for anybody that takes over his mantle. And there's going to be a massive hole when he goes and hangs up his boots eventually. And it's going to be a sad day. But yeah, it's just not good enough today, Chris, was it? Look, it's giving me a nosebleed. Christ almighty. What did this team do to us?
Rich, let's come to you. Let's talk about the Ipswich goal on 31 minutes. Szmodics with a great finish. When you look at the picture here, of course, he is in a lot of space. What did you make of the goal that we conceded?
Oh, just put that picture back on, Chris. It looks like he's like having a bit of a rest while there's 3 players around him. Just like, that's terrible.
Johnson.
3 players around him. Yeah, Johnson should have intervened there, clearly.
He bottled it, didn't he? He bottled it, Johnson,
well,
actually.
I think he didn't want to give away a penalty because he was going to obviously, but with not doing that, that was completely the wrong thing to do. But I think Ange Postecoglou is going to say that they really need to be stopping that ball coming in the first place, and that's what I said obviously earlier around that. Our left and right backs need to be doing more for stopping those crosses coming in. Obviously, wingers like help him come back as well. But that was such a terrible goal too. Like, he had all the time in the world still there. That was like one of those schoolboy like goals, and somebody used to throw the ball to you and then you practice your overhead kicks. That was exactly the same. And literally, he just needed to get contact and he scored. So bad. And for me, like, it really summed up our defending as well. Like, however good you think Romero, Van de Ven are together, that at the moment, as our defending isn't good enough in the box, and that everybody that plays in that back line, including the goalkeeper, needs to take responsibility for that. But also, the whole team defend as a team. And the first thing you need to be doing is when that ball comes in the box, is get that ball out. Whether it's playing out or not, you get the ball out of the box, because that's where we're letting a lot of our goals from, obviously, those close quarters.
Rich, as I said earlier, at half-time, I know we'll come on to this in a second, but when we were 2-0 down at half-time, a lot of fans just automatically feel like we're going to come back into the game and score more. Do you think that Ange Postecoglou does need to concentrate a little bit more on the defensive side of our game? Because it does seem like even us fans say now, it doesn't matter whether we concede. Vicario's come out and said before about we don't worry about clean sheets, don't worry about it, we can go up the end. But of course, a couple of minutes ago, we're talking about not being clinical enough in that final third. Defensively, we do need to be better.
Yeah, for sure. And that's how you win. Every successful team has got a strong spine for one. So spine of the team strong, but also at the back, they've got leaders and strong personalities that put their heart and soul and body behind the ball to clear the lines. And we haven't got that at the moment. Like you say, players pulling out of like challenges in the box is not good enough. Like that first goal, terrible. And Ange Postecoglou needs to kind of really think about the team and going, if he's wanting to play like this, then he needs to have more committed defenders. He needs to have people that are actually going to put their body on the line, because at the moment you've got ticky-tacky like players that literally don't realise the importance of actually clearing the box. They just don't realise how the art of defending is as important as putting the ball in the back of the net. Clearly, that's what it should be, and we haven't got that mentality at all. Again, the amount of time we've said over the last couple of weeks, couple of years about mentality within the team. It needs to be a winning mentality, and if not, Ange isn't going to get that trophy this season, because you're still going to have those moments in that cup final that hopefully we get to, where the players are going to have to put their body on the line to keep that ball out the net.
I'll tell you what, every time Craig's on this podcast, you use the words frustrating. Richard, every time you're on the podcast, you use the word mentality a lot. Ricky, what would you say your favourite word is on the podcast?
Watford.
Are you in Watford scrubs at the moment, mate, with that prison wall at the back? Yeah.
For anyone listening on audio platform, the guys have actually taken it. it's taken 75 minutes for me to actually crack a smile on this podcast, saying Watford.
But you know what though, hold tight, Chris. You know what? Like we as fans, right? And we as fans, we have one way of looking at things, and maybe the management and the upstairs have a different way of looking at it. But we did identify problems in the summer, so we all knew. Like, okay, for instance, I'll just talk about what I said. I wanted at least 2 experienced danger men. Yeah, because that's what we needed. That's what we lacked last year. 2 danger men. We brought in Solanke, and then I thought we was gonna bring in that kid Desire Douay, or there was somebody very, very tricky, right? We ended up going for Odebear. Now, we haven't been able to see what he can bring, but another young one, yeah. But it wasn't an experienced one; it was a young one. So, okay, we didn't do that. A lot of us, including myself, but a lot of us said monster number 6. One person that shields the defense and that does that defensive work and that is a leader, like we've all been kind of calling for. That's what we also called for. Then we called for a left centre back to cover Van der Ven because of injuries and rotation, and left back because Reguilon is not, even though he's in the squad, he bless him, he gets to go on the plane sometimes, but like he ain't playing, and he's looking for another club, and he ain't, even if he, well, I don't know, I won't say that. I was gonna say even if he does turn up, maybe he would down tools on us, but I don't want to say that about him. I don't really know it, but so we knew left centre back or somebody who was left centre back and could play left back, so that, because those were the holes within the squad, right? And then I remember, I'm sure it was you, Chris, that said backup. Another backup, number 2 goalkeeper for Vicario. Yeah. So those were our problems. And we done one. We got a striker in, Solanke. We brought in 2 young ones in Archie Gray and Bergvar. So there wasn't that dynamic go-getter. The reports were, and we can't believe all of the reports, but we were looking at Gallagher as an attacking dynamic midfielder. Eze, didn't end up doing those things. So we knew the problems that we were facing going into this season. And inevitably, these things do arise, right? Inevitably. So when we talk about backing, yes, they've spent money. And yes, Ange's got the players in that he kind of targeted, but I'm sure there's a lot that were missed out on for one reason or another. So this is what happens when you leave purposefully holes in this squad. And even Spence not being in that Europa squad is massive. So I just wanted to get that out. Sorry,
Ricky, let's stay with you. I felt like this was a really important moment in the game. In the 42nd minute, Sartre Heung-min Son, who crossed. He didn't shoot. He decided to cross. There was a huge groan inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at this point. I thought it was a really bad decision from Heung-min Son not to shoot because he was in such a great position. And then a minute later, Liam Delap then puts Ipswich 2-0 up. Think of Son's performance today, and what have you made of some of the poor decision making in the final third that me and Craig spoke about earlier? And also, what did you make of the goal that Ipswich scored?
So with Sonny, it's almost overplaying, isn't it? It's almost overplaying. Like he's kind of killer instinct, at this present time, under this management is more to find the pass. He should have shot. I totally agree with you. And the goal that Ipswich scored. The second one was a very kind of it was a break, but it was very kind of scrappy. I didn't know whether it was an own goal or not at the time. But it was to do with like switching off. It was to do with not being able to kind of see what was happening in that moment of transition. And almost, I don't know. It was a gift more than anything, Chris. It was a gift. It was a gift. I don't know what to say about it. I really don't. But with Sonny, I love Sonny to bits. I will always kind of back him to... What's going on? Is security coming? Here we go. How you doing? You knew I was speaking, didn't you? You knew. Because you knew. But I love Sonny to bits, man. I love Sonny to bits. I don't think he's finished. I think every time that you doubt him, he comes back stronger, and he's always been one to be counted on. Just unfortunately, it wasn't his day today. We know that he's coming back from some type of injury. I mean, Ange said it was fatigue, but, you know, Ali Gold said this the other day. I don't know what type of fatigue keeps you out and misses 3 games in a row. Do you know what I mean? So maybe they're keeping that quiet. Maybe we don't know what's going on. But, you know, he had 55 minutes in his first game back. Then he had 45 against Galatasaray. Today was his first 90 under his belt. I'm just going to try and put it down to that. Trying to get back up to speed is what I'm going to put it down to, because, you know, I love and believe in Sonny. Always will.
Craig, what did you make of the boos at half-time? Because when the players came out for the second half, the fans completely changed. They seemed to be really up for it. And you heard "Come On You Spurs" sung very, very loudly for that opening 5-10 minutes of that second half, which really got the players going again.
I think it's just the frustration, isn't it? We've heard boos at half-time quite a lot, haven't we? And that's because we do tend to go behind first before we jump into gear. And it comes down to what Richard was saying about mentality. Why do we have to go behind or something to happen, like it's been said before we actually kick into gear? It's frustrating for the fan base to see that, and the people in the stadium, because we can all see what's happening. Everybody at home can see what's happening. And, you know, boos at half-time probably justified. Why should you be 2-0 down to Ipswich in your own stadium, somewhere that's supposed to be a fortress? I've never quite understood why we seem to start so slow. I know we used to a couple of seasons ago. I think it was under Conte. We seemed to only kick to life after we went a goal behind. And it seems to be just a recurring theme. I can't remember how many games now we've been behind, but you can't keep doing it. Certainly when you're 2 down, perhaps 1, but even 2. You know, I know we lost the lead at Brighton when we were 2-0 down, but it probably doesn't happen that often, because Ipswich, you know, they know how to defend. They'll be used to that. They'll be used to that, sitting deep and hitting teams on the counter attack. And we notoriously struggle to break down teams who sit deep. We always have been like that. Mm-hmm. So, but the crowd coming back into it in the second half, when they come out, obviously they know what we're like. They know what we're like. They, you know, get behind the team. They think, right, we're going to kick on. I never saw that today. I never felt it today. I just had that horrible feeling we weren't going to be able to get back into it today. And that's what come to pass, wasn't it? It was very disappointing that it just didn't seem to have that killer edge today. I don't think Porro had his strongest game again today. I would have loved to have seen Spence get a run out today. I would have loved to have seen Porro replaced with Spence and give him a run out down there. Because whenever he's come on, he's had a good game and he's made a difference in a couple of games. So, yeah, I was a bit disappointed that he didn't get a run today. I thought we could have done a bit more, changed the subs around a little bit.
Rich, let's come to you. It was a good start by Spurs in the second half, because Son had a shot tipped over the bar by the goalkeeper, and then Dominic Solanke put the ball in the net, but it was disallowed for a handball. It went to VAR. Was it correctly disallowed, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, in the rules anyway. In the rules, it's gonna, obviously hit his hand. Any kind of ball that then travels and hits the hand and then goes in is going to be given as handball. And I think he knew that it was going to be given as handball when he walked back to the halfway line. I think he was very apprehensive about the kind of celebrating the goal, but it's one of those that kind of that pops up, doesn't hit his hand, goes in. And then we're back in the game, and we've got that momentum where hopefully Bentancur still scores that goal. We're on level terms, and then we're looking to win the game. Where when Bentancur scored, I just don't think we had the momentum. And I think even the momentum from that chance from Sonny and Solanke then created that opportunity from the corner that we obviously scored from. I just think generally today it just wasn't good enough, and I think the manager's not really to blame. I just think it's just the players. Players didn't really turn up today, and I just really don't. Yeah, I really don't. Every time I think back to the kind of just the incidents in the games, could it have gone one way? Could it have gone the other? But I didn't think we did enough. We just didn't do enough with the ball. We had the ball a lot, and we just didn't do enough with it.
Rich, there seemed to be a lot of long shots today from the Spurs team. Even Dominic Solanke, we don't normally see that from Dominic Solanke. He had a long-range effort in the 57th minute. Do you think that is just the players just trying to shoot from long range? Do you think that was an instruction from Ange Postecoglou?
Well, you'd think it would be, because obviously we didn't do any before that over the last couple of games. And all of a sudden, I think Papi Sarr scored a couple of like distant shots. Then all of a sudden, everybody's taking them. But it doesn't work too well for Porro when Porro has like 40 odd shots and gets about 2 on target. So I think as well, it just kind of deflates the balloon a little bit when you have like a shot from nowhere that it doesn't even really open up. It's just a shot out of nowhere. Most of those shots were either maybe yes, the goal's in front of you, but it's still 30 yards out. The likelihood of you beating a good keeper from that, apart from maybe a little bit of deviation or deflection, highly unlikely. For me, yeah, especially towards the end as well, I just don't get it. And then obviously, like we said earlier about the Werner shot that went over, I was like, that for me was like your P45 in January. That was for me. I was like, I was paying for his Uber to the airport to send him wherever he wants to go. I tell you, for me, how much you get? 170,000 a week.
I hope you don't mind me saying, Rich, but I think actually, I'm going to say about 80% of your WhatsApp messages to me are about Timo Werner.
I know. And you know when I teased you about a shirt that you had with a certain name on the back of that shirt, but please do not get me a Werner one. When I see you in November, please do not bring me a Werner shirt, because
if anyone would like to get Richard a gift for Christmas, send him a Timo Werner shirt. I'm sure he'll love it.
Yeah, I'm not too happy with his performances for sure. And also, yes, I understand confidence, but again, like I said to you, what I've done with them in my own performance as a professional athlete, I put things into place that when you come to perform, you've got all those tools. So whether it's one-on-ones, whether it's those kind of snapshot opportunities, his confidence is low because he must not be doing something in training, or people aren't supporting him to raise his performance. So when he gets that opportunity, it's second nature. It goes in every time. That should be happening in training. So if it's not happening in the game, what's going up here? And I think they need to work on that. They need to work on that kind of process to be able to deliver on the pitch.
Rick, let's come to you. On 58 minutes, I've written down here, Delap running rings around our defence, including Christian Romero. Ipswich then got shot in. It went over the bar. What did you make of their performance today, and in particular Delap? Because I thought he had a good game against Spurs. And also Spurs defensively. Are you surprised that, players like this, and I'm going to say it again, a team coming here, not won a game in the Premier League all season, and they put in a performance like this, wanting it, had that desire to go on to win the game here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium?
For me, it comes down to one word, and it's the same word that I used against Palace, really, and that's aggression. Like, there wasn't that aggression in some of the players today to kind of, stop Delap and stop the kind of Ipswich press and stuff like that, and I just felt that aggression just has been tampered a little bit. We know Romero is one of our aggressors. There was also, over the time that he's been here, shouts for him to, there's been shouts that he's been a liability because of his aggression. So maybe there has been that temper, but I don't think the balance is there quite at this time. He flew into a tackle, I think it was against Villa, and done his toe, didn't he? So, maybe that was maybe he's playing through pain. I don't know. But it just wasn't aggressive enough. It was a little bit too nice. Do you know what I mean? And yes, we can play pretty football, but sometimes, if you know, you've got to go to war, and you've got to be aggressive with your fight, not just with the ball, but with the fight. You know, and I just think that that was the biggest thing for me that was missing today. It's not like we don't have it; we do have it, you know, but it doesn't show up when we need it to. You know, we've needed it to show up in 2 games. That physicality, strength, and aggression are big factors in their game, and it hasn't shown up in those particular games. So that's definitely a problem that is on the list that we now need to rectify, and soon.
Ricky, let's stay with you. On 59 minutes, Brennan Johnson put in a cross straight at the goalkeeper. Fans were frustrated by that point. And then a couple of minutes later, the VAR message came up inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, a possible handball by Davis. Of course, VAR wasn't very kind to us today. The penalty wasn't given. Was that the correct decision for you?
I don't know. I mean, if they would have given it, it would have been harsh. But at the same time, we've seen worse given. But when it comes down to most decisions with Tottenham, I don't really expect much, if I'm honest. Do you know what I mean? I'm more surprised when we get them. When we get the decision that we believe that should be ours, majority of the time, I'm more surprised that we've actually got them than not. But that's part of my it's part of the Tottenham wounds that haven't healed over the years. You know, that's part of my thing. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it would have been harsh to give it, but at the same time, we've seen absolutely worse, like given before. So technically, it could have been given. And you know, the more you saw it in slow-mo, the more it looked like a handball. But at the same time, the guy had his left hand out and his right hand close to his body. I think it hit the right hand that was close to his body. So you can't say he was like doing, you know, trying to stop the ball and trying to cheat the game at that point. You know, nor was Sissoko in the Champions League final, but you know, swings and roundabouts. We know what it's like being a Tottenham fan.
Craig, Ange Postecoglou's first sub of the game, Timo Werner on, Sarr off. What did you make of the change?
I think Sarr was injured, so I didn't think Sarr was terrible, but I thought Werner actually had some bright moments. Actually, skinned the right back a few times, put in some decent crosses. Actually, to be fair to him, but again, it comes down to finishing. He had that chance on his left foot, and he just blazed it over the bar. He's got to be doing better, but we all know what his finishing's like. It's so frustrating with Timo Werner because he gets himself in.
Timo Werner's like one of those angel cakes. Look really nice, but taste awful. You know what I mean? It's like it's terrible. Come on, Craig. Right moment. Anybody can run past somebody, but if you're doing fuck all with the ball, then that's an issue.
He did put in a couple of decent balls. He did look dangerous. He did. There's no denying it. He did, but he's not very good in front of goal.
Somebody in the chat, percentage-wise on goal, how many of those opportunities has he taken or this season? I bet he's finishing. He's diabolical without a doubt. Anything positive about Werner?
You know, I think we need to do a new thing on the podcast saying quote of the podcast. And I think Richard has definitely won this one.
Easy.
It's you know what, it's Timo Werner at the end of the day. There has got to be better out there, but I didn't think I've seen players play worse than he did today in that team. To be fair, so I didn't think it was terrible.
In his last game that he scored, that was probably his best game in a Tottenham shirt. Yeah, to give credit to him, there he hasn't given any. You know, so it's probably the best game that he's had an effect in as well. That he scored in, and then today when he came on, he was running direct. He did cause some problems. Do you know what I mean? So he's still not the answer. He's still not. He's still not the answer. I don't think.
He's not the answer, man.
You know, but he did create some chaos. More for Richard than anybody else.
Yeah, I ain't. It's like Sonic. It's like Sonic, isn't it? That's what it does nothing though. That's it. He ain't collecting nothing. Collects the ball, that's it, does nothing with it. How many times does he run with the ball and then the ball just like lose him and go out of play? Mate,
should have bought a Dharma Traore, definitely.
Oh, no, please, no.
He's absolute rubbish, Werner. Sorry. I've said it for the last 2 seasons. Let's get him out.
We get your point, Rich. You don't need to keep saying it. We understand. We know what you mean. Craig, let me come back to you. On 69 minutes, Pedro Porro at this point could tell that the fans were frustrated. He was trying to get the fans going. He was waving his arms in the air, trying to get the fans going. Of course, the South Stand reacted to it. And then, seconds later, he delivered in a fantastic ball to Benton Kerr, who headed in. At that point, it was 2-1. How were you feeling at that point?
A bit more encouraged, I suppose. He was a lovely header. Good ball in. Great finish by Benton Kerr. But we never really kicked on from it. And whether that's Ipswich doing the job on us again, which I think it probably was to a degree. But I just never had a feeling we was going to get back into it. Yeah, we got the goal, but I never thought that we would come back and, let alone draw it, let alone win it. Just didn't seem like it was going to happen today, and that's what came to pass, which is incredibly frustrating, of course, because I think if we had got another one, we'd have gone on to win it. I don't think we'd have ended a draw. I don't. But we just didn't want it enough today. Just didn't want it enough. And that again comes back to Richard's comment about not Timo Werner, but mentality. It comes back to mentality, and it's the poor mentality in this team. We do a couple of good things. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or sometimes 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. It's this team.
Rich, what have you made of Benton Kerr this season?
Again, like he's been in and out of the team, and also sometimes the games he's in and out of the games as well. And sometimes he's been brilliant. He's really kind of dictated the play and kind of got stuck in and broke up the attacks, and then obviously play through the lines a little bit. But also some games he's like, even today I wasn't that impressed. I think he did have moments, but I feel that the midfield, with how that kind of Sarr really didn't have his best game, like Craig was saying. Benton Kerr, I think, was having to do a lot of kind of tidying up from Sarr kind of going out of position. And also he's kind of chasing that goal. I think the last couple of games he's been like I say, shooting outside the box. The other game I watched, I was like going, how many shots? It must have had 3 or 4 shots outside the box, and they were nowhere near. You expect if he has 2 shots outside the box, then the third one he's going to obviously get on target because he's lining up like a top corner or something. But yeah, for me, trying too hard for the team, not doing his own role good enough, I think would be my evaluation of his performance. But generally, I'm a big fan. I think he's got obviously a lot of creativity in him. He's strong on the ball, and some might say a real kind of like Dembele-esque player, like kind of really strong. But he needs to do more in the games and be more consistent, which is the whole team really.
Ricky, let's come to you. And on that subject about long shots, we had another couple here. Heung-min Son, the 72nd minute, over the bar, long range, way over the bar though. A minute later, Timo Werner from long range. This time it was on target. Goalkeeper saved it. How many times on this podcast, in particular during Ange Postecoglou's time, have we all said, and a lot of comments have said, about we always try and score the perfect goal, always try and walk the ball into the net. Today, it is something that I really noticed about how many long shots we had. What are you a fan of that, or do you want to see Spurs score the perfect goal and play Ange ball week in, week out?
I want them to score first and foremost. But I remember there was a press conference last season where I think it was Ali Gold that there was a thing going around that we wasn't allowed to shoot from outside the box. And I remember, I think it was Ali asking him, like, is that an instruction or is that the players? And he's like, are you asking me if I give my players permission to shoot? In other words, of course, they can shoot. My question to you would be, Chris, and you played in goal as well. Was their keeper off his line? Did he keep coming off his line? Was it one of those where it was I've clocked it? No.
And I'll tell you what, very early on in the game, I said this is a very, very confident and capable goalkeeper. And yes, he did waste a lot of time. Yes, there was a lot of shithousery in the game from him, the dark arts, etc. But I felt like he was a very, very comfortable goalkeeper. And I do feel that, though, the long shots that we did have, they were either straight at the goalkeeper or they were way over the bar. So, like Craig said about the finishing in the final third, we needed to have better shots. We needed to test the goalkeeper in a lot better ways than we did today.
Yeah, but you know what? Like their keeper, to credit to them and him, like you just gave him as well. But he had a bit of a shade given moment today where he was up for it, and we were speaking in the green room before we started the show. But he read our game and our play more than our players did. He read our game. He knew when we was going to cross. He knew when it was a short cross or if it was a pullback. Like he knew when to come out. He knew when to drop. It's so massive respect to their keeper. Had a really good game and read our play, our tactics, and how we wanted to score. Most of all, better than we did.
I also feel like we should mention that I feel like a lot of the crossing today, Ricky, was quite poor because it was far too close to the goalkeeper. The amount of times people behind me today in the crowd were saying that's going to go straight to the goalkeeper, and it did. And of course, he then got the ball, fell on the floor like it was, some powerful shot, wasting time yet again. But the crossing needs to be a lot better. And when we talk about, the likes of Dominic Solanke in the middle, the service, it does need to be a lot better with a player like that in the 6-yard box.
Oh yeah, absolutely, bro. Absolutely agreed. And it was like the keeper just read us, and our quality, exactly what you said there, wasn't there. It just wasn't there today, man. The corners were really frustrating. The amount of corners that we just went straight to their goalkeeper, it's Craig's favorite word again, frustrating. A lot of it, but credit to their keeper. He read us. For me, he was their man of the match today. Yeah, they had some star performers out there, but for me, he was their man of the match because he just dismantled our game every time that we did get up there. And like you said, we had 17 shots. I don't know how many crosses, but there were a lot. I don't know how many corners, but there was a lot, and he dealt with them. Like you saying there, even like when it came down to the shots that we did have, he saved them well. Dom Solanke's shot, he saved well, I felt. And a couple of others that he had after that as well. Like he kind of dealt with them. And it was just unlucky and a shame that when Dom scored in the second half, that it went off of his hand, because that was the moment that he didn't have an answer to. But when Dom had another opportunity 5 minutes later, and like he's there in on goal, and it's not a cross, it's a tick-attacker moment. We played it in, and he's there, and the goal's in front of him, and we're all thinking, all right, cool, this is the time. Keeper makes a great save with his leg and just deflects it out. And so, yeah, I mean, Ipswich's goalkeeper definitely had a Shay Given-esque. Who was the other one? Tim Krul. That was another one.
Yeah,
Newcastle. We
Newcastle
couldn't score against him for ages.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was his moment today.
Today as well, we were very predictable with kind of our play, and not only the keeper, but also their back line really kind of dealt with that. And then, like you say, the opportunities that Craig alluded to, so we've had so many opportunities we've not took advantage of, and whoever's had them, they've not really kind of put them away, and that's been a real frustration for the fans to know that we're not ruthless. You need to, I think, as a professional person, as an athlete, as a footballer, you need to, when you've got those opportunities, you might only get one a game. You can't be expecting 5 or 6. You need to take them. And when Benzinker scored with his header, we still had 30 minutes of the game left. 30 minutes
plus extra time.
Well, no, that was including that. Yeah, 30 minutes, and I think within that 30 minutes, we didn't take advantage of that. We didn't have that moment where we're all kind of let's really push on. Even in that extra time, I'm thinking let's just go for it. Everybody commit to it. But we're not a team that does that. And I just how much do we really want that result? It didn't really show anything today.
Craig, that is a really good point by Richard, isn't it? About the us being predictable. I feel like we have been predictable a number of times this season in a number of Premier League games.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been predictable for 4 or 5 years, to be honest with you. We knew under Conte a couple of times. More than a couple of times. Teams knew how we were going to play. Sit back, him on the counter-attack and Kane on score. And we've just switched it around now. Yeah, we're going to go down the outside, low crosses into the box and score from that. And look, sometimes it works. Of course it does. But we've got to have a plan B. We had a few longer shots today, but nothing really troubled the keeper. What frustrated me today was one of Maddison's corners. Right, it was getting on a bit. And then my son was sitting next to me and he said, that's straight at the keeper. That's in the keeper's arms. Nobody challenged the keeper. He just went up, caught it. And then went down, like you said, Chris, and just like he just faced a long shot and done some miraculous save. He didn't. It was just basic goalkeeping. All day, it's just catching practice. There was too much of that today. Not enough quality. We haven't got any world-class players in this team. We haven't. We only had one previously, and that was Harry Kane. But we've got no world-class players in this team. And all right, you don't need world-class players to win a league. But I think you need something. You need players that are pushing to get to that extra level. There's levels, isn't there? We all know these, the levels. I'm not talking about to the Messi/Ronaldo levels when they were top form. I don't think any of us would agree that we ever had players of that level at the club. They're few and far between. But surely need some players that are kind of at the level below, and we haven't got that.
Well, talking about a player who is certainly a level below world class, in Timo Werner, in the 84th minute, what a chance for Timo Werner! And honestly, I know we're having a bit of banter here about Timo Werner, but Christ, what an opportunity! 6 minutes from time, and he shoots over the bar. How many times, Craig, have we spoken out about Timo Werner and his finishing? A professional player. You've got to get this on target.
I'm running out of superlatives to describe Timo Werner's finishing prowess because it is. I would actually go to say, I've seen some terrible footballers in the Premier League, and of course, when you say terrible footballers, I don't know. In reality, are they that terrible? Because they've actually got somewhere and been scouted.
I know I've quoted Roy Keane already, but that's his job. A shot on target. That is his job.
I've seen some bad footballers over the years. I remember Jason Leaf. I think he played for Forest many years ago. He was the butt of many jokes with Fantasy Football League with Skinner and Badil. He was dreadful, right? We had Ronnie Rosenthal. He was pretty bloody awful at finishing, although he did get a good hat-trick against Southampton. I've seen them. We've all seen them. Timo Werner, with his finishing ability, is definitely up there in the top 5 of all-time worst Premiership finishers, in my opinion, for somebody who should be doing that. He should be getting more on target. I'm not saying he should at least get them on target, but I do feel for him. I swear to God, I would do a better job sometime of getting shots on target than Timo Werner, and I've been retired 10 years. I swear to God, honestly, he's so bad. Richard will disagree with me. He does. I think he does a lot of good work on the wing, but that is it. When he comes inside the shot, oh my God, you just know where it's going to end up. People in the South Stand were doing this before he even hit the fucking ball. Do you know what I mean? It's just like drives you insane. Anyway, on to Richard. Richard, give us your thoughts on Timo Werner.
Right.
Rich, before you do start, I think it is fair to say he is such a hard-working player. I think you can agree he is a hard-working player, but the output and the finishing, the shots on target, that is really starting to grate on me and bug me now. The shots on target, because as I've said, that is his job.
Yeah, so we're not paying him just to work hard, though, are we? I mean, we're paying him to have an impact, and he's not doing it. It looks great when he's running with a ball, running past somebody, and then but everybody knows he's not. His end products line is nothing really. One thing I will say is obviously to improve the situation, just to like smash him all the time, isn't there? It doesn't help, and clearly, and I don't advocate for anybody because what some fans do, they then abuse the players online and all that rubbish. Nobody should be doing any of that because obviously we care about the club and we want the players to be better.
Yeah, we're not abusing anyone. Let's just clarify that. We all want the best for Timo Werner. We all want the best for our club,
100%.
but it is very, very frustrating.
It's about how you get the best out of the players, and he isn't good enough for the starting lineup, and I don't think he's good enough for the team at all. But obviously, what's happened is we've got him on our playing roster because of what's happened previously with obviously previous clubs. Now they wanted to get rid of him anyway because they knew this kind of situation happens where he's having to have 20, 30 games just to have one opportunity where he's going to score. And I just don't think that's good enough. You need to have impact players that come off the bench to actually have an impact on the game. And for me, he's had the opportunity now. In January, he's apparently been told he can leave anyway. And I think that's appropriate because we need to have somebody else come in with new energy. And again, that new energy, new expectation, and somebody that is going to make that impact off the bench or go straight into the team. And players like him, like you alluded to, Chris, he's had a couple of opportunities when he's come onto the pitch today, and it's been nowhere near. Nowhere near.
But you need a game changer.
Yes, you do.
Exactly what I'm saying.
He's not that, though, is he?
If he's not changing a game.
No, he's not. No, he flatters to deceive, doesn't he? He comes on, and like I say, like Sonic down the wing, doesn't really do anything. Beats a player. Everybody gets proper excited, then deflated because he does nothing with it. And obviously what teams know is, now, remember the other season where it was Werner running down the wing, cross the ball, back post, Johnson goal, or at least an effort, where obviously teams have know that's going to happen now. They know that's what because that's all he does. Or if there's no opportunity to cross the ball in, he's going to take a step back and then play that lazy ball back to somebody else and passes the responsibility. That's what I feel all the time. So he's got those two things. That's it. And then if he's got a chance to shoot, so if he's got an opportunity, the ball's coming to him, he's now thinking about it. He's thinking about it over the bar. The other day, when he scored, the ball came across, touched the ball. I wouldn't say he strikes it, touched the ball, and it flew in through momentum. He didn't have any opportunity to think then. So that's an instinctive opportunity. He's better in those instinctive opportunities. If he's got chance to think about it, very similar to Johnson in some respects, it's very difficult to predict if they're going to score or not. And we need people like Sonny, where you get that one-on-one, you know Sonny's going to hit the target at least, and 70, 80% of the time he's going to score.
Yeah, I was having a very, very similar conversation with someone the other day about that. When Timo Werner has that time to think, then the chances are he's going to miss it. But you're absolutely right, Rich. If he's got to hit it first time, in my opinion. Ricky, let's come to you. Last couple of points here from today's game, and then I'll get your score predictions and how you're feeling ahead of the City game in 2 weeks' time at the Etihad Stadium. In the 84th minute today, Ange Postecoglou made a double change. Maddison and Basuma on, Bentancur and Johnson off. And then in the 95th minute, Dominic Solanke had the chance to equalise, hit it at the goalkeeper. Ricky, should he have done better?
I would have loved to have done better. Should he have? I mean, yes, because he is a striker. But at least he got it. That's when he got on target, right? That was a save, wasn't it, Chris? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, at least he got it on target. But, yeah, of course. Especially in the hindsight. But to be fair to him, there was a lot happening around him. You know, yes is the short answer, Chris. Yes, of course he should. But I think he's a fantastic striker, and I see the reasons that he was brought in to play this system. But when it falls flat, like Craig said earlier as well, boy, does it fall flat, you know. Unfortunate, but yeah, of course he should be doing better. And the thing is that he would want to do better too. So,
Craig, let's come to you. Let's talk about the City game. Of course, it is the international break now. So in 2 weeks' time, we face Manchester City. They have lost 4 in a row for the first time under Pep Guardiola. It is simply not heard of. Spurs, of course, have lost today against Ipswich. In 2 weeks' time, how do you see the game going? Of course, it is expected that City will have a lot of their players back from injury. Rodri, of course, will remain out, but a lot of their other players that have been out will be back. How do you see the game going? Because it is clear from previous years, even under Nuno Espirito Santo, we beat Pep Guardiola's City, but we seem to be a side that always, or they seem to struggle against us.
It is, and that's the one saving grace in the look of all the teams after a 4-match run where they haven't picked up a single win. The last team they want to play is Tottenham Hotspur. It really is. But on the flip side, if we go into playing City at their place, playing like we did today, or playing like we did second half against Brighton, or playing like we did against Galatasaray, we're going to get our asses kicked. And that's the bottom line. So at the moment, the only score prediction I can give you is that Tottenham will lose to Manchester City. I might change my mind leading up to the game, and I'm sure we'll have another podcast before then when my answer might be different. But I can't see any way, shape or form, playing like we are at the moment, how we're going to beat Manchester City at their ground. And it's as simple as that. We're just not good enough. We're just not consistent enough. And City, as you say, have got their players back. I can't see how we get a result at their ground. And that is my opinion on that. And that's all I've got to say on it at the moment.
Rich, how are you feeling ahead of the City game in 2 weeks' time?
Oh, great. Yeah, so I think obviously playing City at our ground compared with away is 2 different kettles of fish. And you've got to think about kind of expectations. I think we play better. I think away from home, we've not played great, to be honest. I think but also, I think again we play better against the teams that do come out and kind of really do want to play football. And I think we'll have chances like we have in many of the games, and I think we'll score. It just depends how defensively we are, and if we've got obviously a full team back. Van de Ven, obviously, if he's back in the team at that point, which I wouldn't have thought so. Maybe he might be back in the squad, but not obviously playing. I would say it's going to be a real tough game. You'd expect to be competitive, but some of the jokers saying it's going to be 6 or 7-1 or whatever. It's not going to be like that. That won't happen against Man City. I don't believe. I think
no,
yes.
It'll be 8 or 9.
I just think you need, obviously today's been a really bad day for us as supporters and the team, hopefully. And there's going to be some real learnings that you're going to have to bounce back from a game like today. Yes, it was only 2-1, but it was against, for me, an organised team, a team that had a job to do. That was to go ahead and then to keep ahead. But a poor team in the league, really. And we need to bounce back from that. So I would say I was there last year when it was 3-3. I think I'm going to be at the game again. So let's go for a draw. Let's go 2 each.
What does really worry me is how many chances we conceded to Galatasaray on Thursday. It could have been an absolute hatful. And that scoreline did flatter us. And, of course, Ipswich could have scored more today here. It does worry me how many chances that we do give the opposition. Ricky, very quickly, how do you see this game going? Because we haven't even spoken about City. Losing 4 on the trot is just unheard of.
It is unheard of, and they're going to be frustrated with that. They've got to sit on that for 2 weeks. So Pep and that side are going to be really hungry to kind of rectify their winning streak. They are going for the title. They are going for every cup competition that they're in. They still are the toughest side in the league. and they are going to have a lot more players back from injury. So it's going to be a tougher game, absolutely. But the one thing with Man City, like Rich was saying there earlier, is that they do come to play football, and we do play better against sides that come to play football. So I see us also, you know, we've come off 2 defeats now, one in Europe that we kind of give away in a sense, you know, and in one today, which is just a shocking disappointment, really. So there's a lot for us to rectify too. And like I said, I did see fight. I did see like a bit of I did see a bit of pride. It wasn't enough, but I did see it. And every time that we go for a period like this, we do come back. So for me, I see us going there, and I'm going to go for 4-3 win for Tottenham. I'm going to do it. I don't care. I'm going to say it. I'm going to do it. 4-3 Tottenham. We're having it. It's going to be Pep's 5th defeat. They're going to be saying sacked in the morning afterwards. You know what I mean? They're going to be singing that to Pep. And we're going to be joyous.
Callum's asking, did I speak about the atmosphere at full time? Yes, I did, Callum, earlier on the podcast. Of course, it was quite toxic. A lot of people are very unhappy with that performance and result today. Ricky, the other question I was going to ask you very quickly, and Craig and Richard, you've given the score prediction 4-3. Where will Spurs finish at the end of the season in the Premier League? I know this is Richard's favourite question on this podcast.
I hate this question too, man. I'm going to say 5th right now. Craig?
3rd. I'm going to stick with 3rd, even though I'm like a complete and utter wanker saying that. I'm going to stick with 3rd.
He's had a nosebleed. He's sworn throughout the whole of this podcast, which is very Craig Dearman. Craig got the right hump, and
I have. And my dinner's on the table, so I've got. I'm hungry. I'm hangry.
We're going. Craig needs his takeaway. We've got to go. Richard, what are you going with?
The AI version of Craig today, I think. That's what.
Do you know what? As well, the most annoying thing, we would have been bloody 3rd if we won that, because Arsenal and Chelsea are drawing at the moment, I believe. So that is it's frustrating.
I blame Gary Maloney, saying
Gary Maloney,
100%. We're winning this match.
Agreed.
Yeah, twat.
Your fault, Gaz.
Do you know, we actually had a couple of Ipswich fan channels on the last couple of days, and they thought that we were absolutely going to batter them. Both of them did. Richard, what are you going for? Well, score prediction and league position.
Yeah, so I said 2-2 for the score for City, and I want to say
waiting, Rich.
I want to
hurry up.
I want to say 4th in Champions League. I still believe we're on the right path.
I want to say 1st in every trophy in the land, but you know,
I definitely don't think 1st, but I'm normally pessimistic and kind of optimistic as well at the same time. So yeah, I'll stick with 4th. I thought we'd be an improvement on last season. At the moment, I think there's a lot of kind of thinking that people need to be kind of doing within the club. I think not only the men's team, but also the women's team as well. We need to really kind of focus what the actual first teams are doing, and hopefully we get closer to the Champions League than we did last year. So let's go 4th.
Rich, thank you so much for joining me. What's next for you? Of course, you will be joining Craig, Ricky and I at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on the 21st of November at the awards. So looking forward to seeing you. But what's next for you on a professional level?
So I finished my marathon running in Chicago, where I broke the world record, which was awesome. And then having a bit of a rest now. So just getting back into a little bit of training. I've been doing a lot of kind of publicity around kind of NHS provision for prosthetics, as well as I'm doing some work within schools around school resource packs and kind of really promoting the benefits of like physical health and mental health for kids within sport as well. And that's for all kids as well as kids with disabilities. So just really active in that area. But yeah, obviously myself professionally as well, just like working towards like London Marathon next year and maybe some of the big challenges ahead. So yeah, thanks for everybody's support as always and the channel. And I'm looking forward to obviously coming to see you guys for some well-earned beers for sure.
We look forward to it, Rich. We will certainly get you something, Timo Werner, for giving you a gift. We will definitely.
He's sitting on our table, isn't he? Ain't Timo sitting on our table, Chris?
Imagine. That's it. You can sit him right next to me, and I'll give him some points on how. Basically, what I do is I bring a cardboard cutout of the actual frame of a goal, and I'll be like, "Hey, look, just focus in between the stanchion."
We need Paul McKenna.
That's
we
it.
need Paul McKenna in. Yeah, this is the goal. This is the goal.
This is the
Craig,
goal, yeah.
Craig, so you can get off and have your dinner. Where can people find you?
Yeah, at Dearman on X, give me a follow, get me up to 1,000 subscribers. Thanks a lot. I've enjoyed it. It's been brilliant. Cheers. Rick, what have you been up to? Where are you? What are you doing?
Firstly, do you know what? Just before I jump into what I've been up to, I want to say massive respect and big up to the military and the trumpet player today at the beginning of that game, because every single time it gets to this time of the year and I hear those trumpeters play, the tingles and the emotion that it generates, especially being in our stadium, absolutely phenomenal from all of those military men that were in the stadium representing, and and just a tremendous job. It always gives me emotions, and it always puts those hairs on the back of my neck. So well done for you guys today. Guys, you if you don't know, I've just been casting a new Christmas movie. So the day after the awards, I'll be going up to film that for about 3-4 weeks. Again, I don't know what I can say and what I can't say, so I'm going to keep it short and just say I'm really looking forward to it. It's called Jingle All the Sleigh. And yeah, I'll let you know some more details about it as soon as I can. But really looking forward to that one. And you can find me here at Ricky J Norwood on X, official Ricky Norwood on Insta. Loved being on. Always an honor and a pleasure, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you, Ricky, for saying about Spurs remembers. Of course, you know, whenever I miss something on this podcast, Ricky always chips in. So thank you so much.
Gotcha.
Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. I know, you know, it probably feels like a very similar podcast to what you've heard before on this channel because, you know, we've been here before, but we do face City in a couple of weeks' time at the Etihad Stadium. It has been known that we go there and put in a good shift and get the 3 points. So let's hope that is going to happen yet again. Craig, Ricky, Richard, thank you so much for your time. Look forward to having all of you guys on again very, very soon. As I say, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. Have a great week. And come on, you Spurs.
Come on.